What if Deku joined Team JPDE? Chapter 28. White Rose. Monday. Day 85. I kind of already knew, David said. I see. You guessed from my report, Penny asked. Yup. I mean, something born from supposedly lifeless materials and turned into a fully functioning human being. It hits way too close to home, David said. With the difference that it stole someone's DNA to choose its form. It's not like you landed on anyone, Evelyn said. The other then realized something. What? I can use words like DNA too, Evelyn said. Not that what we're shocked about. What if he did land on someone, Deku asked. Please do not even joke about that. If I did, I think Penny would have noticed, or the police would at least be looking for a missing person, David said. That's correct. I didn't see any sign of carnage at the place of your landing, and no one was looking for someone corresponding to your description, Penny said. What about a female version of David, Jack asked. Oh. No, not that either. I perused the database when we still thought David was amnesiac. I still have a copy, Penny said. And considering you couldn't have hit someone mid-flight, I guess that only leaves one explanation, Evelyn said. The flame. And can I just say, I still can't believe that a fragment of it is in you, Deku, David said. I still coming to terms with it myself. But at least I know it's at least possible to go home. Anyway, back to Metal Girl. Maybe the difference is in the materials, Deku said. You mean? Maybe David is different from that girl because he was made from different stuff, Jack asked. Well, we know next to nothing about the process, so anything is possible, David said. I'm sure we'll know more once Professor Peach and Father finish their tests, and compare the results with your own, David, Penny said. Then what about focusing on something we can solve by ourselves, in the meanwhile, Evelyn asked. Like what, David asked. Her name, obviously. Referring to her by the female Mercury, or that girl is driving me nuts, Evelyn said. Mercuria, David suggested. Blah. Too obvious, Evelyn said. Metalia, Penny suggested. Who's that, a D-list comic book villain, Evelyn asked. Silver, Jack suggested. She's not a horse, Evelyn said. Kicks like one, anyway, Chroma, David suggested. That literally means color. Something less generic, please. Magata Kinzoku, Deku suggested. And what does that mean, Evelyn asked. It means bent metal, Deku said. Why that name, Jack asked. Because she's a gender-bent version of Mercury made from metal, Deku said. At least someone is putting some effort in. But it's too foreign, Evelyn said. The five then spent their lunchtime coming up with a name for female Mercury. Deku was currently in juniors watching over David. He had been doing this for a while and everything seemed to be going well. Seems like everything is alright. Guess we worried about nothing, Deku said. Deku then got up to leave. And where do you think you're going, a voice said. Deku was pushed back into his seat. Standing before him were Melanie and Milshia, each having a leg on either side of the chair, pinning Deku down. Hello, Deku said. Don't hello us, mister, you better start explaining yourself, Milshia said. I would love to. But what did I do, Deku said. You've been coming here every time the new guy is here, and you sit down and watch him and then just leave after he does. You're clearly stalking him, Melanie said. Oh, no, you've got it all wrong. He's my partner, Deku said. Oh, so you are also a Beacon student, Milshia asked. Yep, Deku said. Wait, does that mean? Is it true, Melanie asked. Is what true, Deku asked. You mentioned you were his partner, and when we approached about working him, he mentioned that he had 2 girlfriends and was sharing them with another boy. That's you, right, Melanie asked. Yep, Deku said. How, Milshia asked. It's a long story, Deku said. Figures. But that doesn't explain why you're coming here and watching him, Melanie said. Well, to make a long story short. Our team has been targeted due to our association with him, and an incident that happened quite recently has made the rest of us worry about him. So I've been watching over him, Deku said. Wait. He's being targeted. Why didn't he tell us? We can't have him around if he's going to be attacked one day, Milshia said. There's no need to worry about that. They've only attacked us when it's just our team. There's no way they would go after David in a crowded place like this. It would bring too much attention to them, Deku said. That doesn't make things a whole lot better, but I guess it's better than having the club destroyed again, Melanie said. Let me guess. Young Deku said. She's now bragging about destruction of property, Milshia asked. No. It was just an educated guess, Deku said. Well, it's nice to know someone else who has a brain, Melanie said. Now that we've cleared things up, mind letting me go, Deku asked. Oh, right, Milshia said. They then removed their legs from the chair, though they inadvertently flashed Deku as they did. Huh? What's the matter, Milshia asked. You've gone all red, Melin said. Maybe next time, don't remove your legs like that, Deku said. The twins blushed as they realized what he meant. No wonder why people always went quiet after we were finished with them, Melanie said. Oh, when I get my hands on them, Milshia said. I think just banning them would be enough, Deku said. Wish we could, but it's our fault, so we can't really do anything about it. Though thanks for telling us, Melanie said. No problem. I guess, Deku said. Deku then noticed a woman, who was clearly drunk, walking up to them. He saw that the woman was reaching out her hands to touch the twins' butts. Thinking quickly, Deku used Black Whip to tie up the woman's hands. Now young lady. I don't think the twins would much appreciate your advances, Deku said. But they have nice butts, the drunk woman said. Well, they're only for looking at. Not touching. Now be on your way or you'll have to face the twins, Deku said. Fine, the drunk woman said. Deku then let the woman go. Thanks again, Milshia said. Some people don't know how to keep their hands to themselves, Melanie said. Yeah. I should get going. Everything seems fine with David, so I don't need to watch over him anymore, Deku said. Deku then began to leave. Wait, Melanie said. Deku said. The reason we employed David was because we were handling both keeping guests entertained and doing security. And you've just shown now that you've been quite competent at dealing with drunk people, Melanie said. Go on, Deku said. I would like to ask that you join the security team, at least until we can get more. You'll be working with one of us, and that would free up the other to entertain the guests. So what do you say, Melanie asked. I'll think about it, Deku said. Deku then left the club. What are you planning, Milshia asked. Nothing. We need the help, so I asked, Melanie said. Tuesday. Day 86. Deku was currently making his way through the beacon halls. Ijuku, Blake said. Hey, Blake. What's up, Deku asked. Sorry for the weird question, but what size are you and your teammates' clothes, Blake asked. I don't know about my teammates, but why are you asking that, Deku asked. A wardrobe emergency. Ruby is out of clothes, Blake said. She's out of clothes. How, Deku asked. She forgot to do her laundry. That's how. She's completely out of clothes and down to only one uniform, Blake said. And I guess her clothes and Young's are too big for her frame. What about Weiss, though? They're more or less the same size, no, Deku asked. You're right about that, but Blake said. Ruby then came out of the bathroom. So Young asked. No dice, Ruby said. Thank the gods about that, Weiss said. Too short, Young asked. No, the length is fine, but it was too tight around the chest, Ruby said. No, it wasn't, Weiss said. As I thought, Young said. The hell do you mean as I thought, Weiss asked. Yeah, and it was all large and stuff around my hips, and Ruby said. One word. One more word and I try my hand a meat skewers, Weiss shouted. So. It's been touch and go for a while, Blake said. I bet. Still, what a situation. So she's without clothes at least until tonight, Deku asked. Yeah. Thing is, she needed to go get some tickets for a movie. It's a special projection, so they're nominative and single sale, Blake said. Ouch. Oh wow, I can't believe she forgot to do her laundry, Deku said. She did her underwear, at least. And she's been occupied. Reading an awful lot more, for some reason. Which I approve. Also, Blake said. What, Deku asked. Well. Truth tell, she does have one outfit left but she refuses to wear it, Blake said. What do you mean she refuses to wear it? Wait, is this another one of her Rubyisms, Deku asked. Oh, you're familiar, Blake said. Am I ever? Last time she bit me and we rolled down a hill, Deku said. Wait, so that was you, Blake asked. That what? The dirt and the scratches, Deku asked. Yes. The dirt and scratches, Blake said. Anyways. I think my clothes would fit her. We are about the same size, though they may be a bit big on her, but not as big as your clothes and Young's, Deku said. Thanks for the compliment. I guess, Blake said. I'll see you later, Deku said. See you, Blake said. Deku then headed off to the dormitory. Also, despite looking like she had been crying, she had the biggest smile on her face, Blake said. In Team RWBY's room. No, no, no and no. Ruby said. For the love of. Last time you tried those was months ago. At least give them another look. See if you changed your mind, Young said. Huff. Fine. But I haven't, Ruby said. Ruby then went back into the bathroom to change. Huff, she's so stubborn, Young said. The door to their room then opened. Found anything? Blake Young asked. A solution, Deku said. Ijuku, Young said. Hey. Heard that Ruby's out of clothes, so I brought over some of mine that should be at least more fitting than the rest of your team's clothes, Deku said. Blake told you that, Young asked. It's why I'm here. So where is she? Or did you convince her to go out in the outfit she refuses to wear, Deku asked. No, she hasn't gone anywhere. But honestly, Ijuku. I think you should go before, Young said. Put it on. Still haven't changed my mind, Young, Ruby said. Ruby then came out of the bathroom. I'm not wearing this. This, Ruby said. Ruby then noticed Deku. Young's eye long. Exit left, Young said. Young then left the room. Young, I hate you, Ruby shouted. Ruby. Is that? I mean, those clothes, Deku said. It's a stupid present from that stupid Young which never left my stupid wardrobe, and no one was ever supposed to see me wearing till the end of time forever, Ruby said. I see. I mean. You look, Deku said. Ridiculous, I know. Like a kid playing with her mother's clothes, Ruby said. What? No, you look good in them. You look very mature, Deku said. You're just saying that. You're nice, but Ruby said. What? No, I swear, Deku said. Hey, it's alright. I know I'm not. I mean, I'm just good ol' Ruby Rose. Ruby Rose is cute. She's not beautiful, or fashionable, or yows, Ruby said. Yowza. What's yowza, Deku asked. Young's yowza. I'm just. You know, normal knees. And I like it better that way, after all, Ruby said. Knee. I don't get it, Deku said. Hee, I'm sorry. It's a Team RWBY inside joke. Anyway. I'll go change, Ruby said. Wait. Don't go change yet, Deku said. Hey. But I don't like these clothes and would much rather prefer to change out of them, Ruby said. Then what about the tickets, Deku asked. I'll just have to miss the projection, Ruby said. But don't you really want to see it? I mean, you did put on those clothes on after all. I can see this means a lot to you, Deku said. It is, but this style. It isn't me, Ruby said. Not now it isn't, Deku said. Hey, Ruby said. While your default mode is being cute. That doesn't mean you can't branch out and be anything else. When you grow up, you'll have to wear clothes that you don't like. Just like you may have to act differently to how you want to. But at the end of the day you make the clothes fit you. So why not give them a try and see if you like being beautiful, Ruby Rose, instead of cute Ruby Rose, Deku said. You really think I'm beautiful, Ruby asked. I do, Deku said. Okay. Hey, Ijuku, Ruby said. Yes, Deku said. Can you accompany me to get those tickets? I'm still a bit self-conscious, Ruby said. Of course, Deku said. Deku and Ruby then headed into Vale to get the tickets. So, thanks for accompanying me. I was almost able to ignore the glances, Ruby said. Yeah. I mean, it's understandable, but a couple were staring a bit too long, Deku said. Not after you glared at them, they didn't. You have to teach me how to stare like that, Ruby said. Hey, what can I say? I guess I got a bit protective, Deku said. Protective or jealous, Ruby whispered. Huh? What did you say, Deku asked. Nothing. Anyway, open your hand, Ruby said. Open my hand, Deku questioned. Deku did so, and Ruby placed 2 tickets in his hand. Wait, why did you buy 2 tickets, and why are you giving them to me, Deku asked. Because one of those is yours, Ruby said. But you need the other ticket though, Deku said. Nope. I've got my own, Ruby said. So who's the third ticket for, Deku asked. David. The projection is an adaptation of one of my favorite novels. From the same author as War of Kings. Me and David have been reading them, so I thought, why not invite him to see it together, Ruby said. Okay, but why did you get me a ticket as well, Deku asked. As thanks for coming with me to get them, Ruby said. You didn't need to thank me, you know, Deku said. I know. So, you want in, Ruby asked. Why not? Just tell me when the projection day is, Deku said. Not that far away, Young and Blake were watching them. Blake. Good job, Young said. Oh, I didn't do much. Now it's up to Ruby, Blake said. Now I'm sad, though, Young said. Oh. Because Ruby is growing up so fast, Blake asked. Partly. But's mostly because my little sister got her first date before me, Young said. You can't be serious, Blake said. I didn't have time. Do you know how hard it is to be this awesome and the woman of the house, Young said. Well, to me it appears that Ruby's got 2 dates before you, Blake said. Wednesday. Day 87. Did someone take the number of that train, Fiend Mercury asked, as she finally woke up. What a waste. You were just about to break the record for longest sedated slumber, Peach said. What, Fiend Mercury asked. Good morning, Titania. How do you feel, Enrico asked. Who the hell's Titania? And who are you, Fiend Mercury asked. My name is Enrico Polendina, scientist, Enrico said. Just call me Professor Peach. As above. And Titania is the name my cute little students chose for you, Peach said. Chose for me? What am I, a pet, Fiend Mercury asked. Well, we could call you Female Mercury if you prefer, Peach asked. Pa. He'd like that, the self-pleasuring bore. Fine, let's go with Titania. Nice to meet you and all that jazz. Now let me out of this thing, Titania said. After all the trouble we went through to make you comfortable, Peach asked. Freaking smart ace, Titania said. Why, thank you, Peach said. It wasn't a compliment, Titania shouted. And you're not free to go. My daughter and her friends didn't bring you back alive after you tried to kill them out of the goodness of their hearts, Enrico said. Moo. It wasn't my fault, alright. I didn't know they weren't using aura, Titania said. So you couldn't feel their aura, Enrico asked. No, I mean, I couldn't even feel mine, could I? I mean, I guess after being literally born, I hadn't unlocked it yet. I was using someone else's, Titania said. You're aware of your origins, Peach said. And even better. You have a sense of self. You don't think yourself as your DNA donor, Enrico said. That tool wishes he was as sexy as me, Titania said. But you possess his memories, right, Peach asked. Yeah, mixed with some other stuff. I could do without a lot of them, especially the things about his father, Titania said. Some other stuff. Would you mind sharing, Peach asked. Depends. What's in it for me? And don't say stuff like my life or freedom. I'm the only lead you've got, ain't I, Titania asked. True. So, what do you propose, Enrico asked. Deku was going back to the classroom at night. He had forgotten his notebook and was hoping the door wasn't locked. The door to the classroom then opened. You're out late, Mr. Midoriya, Glinda said. And I care about that because Deku said. The rift between Deku and Glinda was still as wide as the day it formed. Anyways, I forgot my notebook in class this morning, Deku said. I see. You could have recovered it the following morning, though, Glinda said. I know, but it's not something I could really leave unattended for that long. If you catch my drift, Deku said. I see. Though you should be more careful with it, Glinda said. Well, with the life I lead, it's sometimes hard to keep track of everything, Deku said. Wait here. I'll go grab it for you, Glinda said. Glinda then entered the classroom. A short while later, Glinda came out of the classroom with Deku's notebook. Here you go. Next time try to not forget personal belongings, Glinda said. That was fast. How did you know where I had been sitting, Deku asked. It's an advanced application of aura. You'll study it during your second year, Glinda said. Wait, you can sense aura like a smell, Deku asked. Glinda just smiled. Good night, Mr. Midoriya, Glinda said. Glinda then left, leaving Deku to think about if she really thinks he would still be in Beacon next year, and if she's become less strict after what happened with Penny. Thursday. Day 88. Ha. Told you she'd like it, David said. I'd call it more her begrudgingly accepting it, Penny said. Then Professor Peach should have proposed my awesome alternatives to her, Evelyn said. I thought about it, but I couldn't find any way to not look at it as a complete waste of time, Peach said. Jack, Penny, David and Deku laughed as Peach caught Evelyn flat-footed. Anyway, in the name of knowledge, a deal has been struck. Titania agreed to help and share in exchange for a couple of things, Peach said. That's awesome. What are those, Jack asked. Food and board, for one, which are going to be provided by me. And another service on your end, students, Peach said. And what would that be, Deku asked. Oh, something laughable. You'll have time to discuss it with Titania on Sunday. I'll bring her around to your room, and speaking of Sunday, Penny. Your father told me that the new parts are ready and that on Sunday you can go get them put in, Peach said. They are. Goodness, that's fantastic. So fast. Father never disappoints, Penny said. You're getting new parts installed, Penny. Is it a railgun? Tell me it's a railgun, Evelyn said. No, that'd be redundant, Penny said. Redundant, Jack asked. Then what kind of parts are they, David asked. Penny then blushed, telling the other immediately what parts they are. I don't even want to know how that conversation went, David said. I don't really want to be the one to ask, but... Is it only the front one, Deku asked. What do you? Oh. I didn't think of that. I'll have to ask father if he can make some changes, Penny said. I shouldn't have asked, Deku said. So you're into the back end, Aiju, Evelyn said. Well. Do you want to be able to breath or not, Deku asked. Evelyn was caught flat-footed once again. We'll just have to see, Evelyn said. Deku was walking through the beacon halls at night again. He was wondering why Glinda went to grab his notebook instead of letting him grab it himself. What are you doing here at this time of the day, Mr. Midoriya, a voice asked. What? Professor Peach, Deku yelled, startled. The one and only. Again, what are you doing around here at this hour? Braving your luck with Glinda's patrols, Peach asked. Huh? But isn't Miss Goodwitch in the classroom? I was just wondering, Deku said. And how exactly do you know that, Peach asked. Deku said. I see. Mr. Midoriya, would you mind waiting for me outside? I'll just be a few minutes, Peach said. Sure, I guess, Deku said. Good. Now excuse me, I don't want it to get cold, Peach said. Peach then entered the classroom, and it was only then Deku noticed that she was holding a tray with a teacup and a pot. Deku then left the halls and waited in the gardens. Sorry for the delay, Mr. Midoriya. I had to make up an excuse to explain the sound of your outburst to my old teammate, Peach said. Oh, I see. It's no problem at. Wait. You and Miss Goodwitch were on a team together. You mean here in Beacon, Deku asked. Indeed we were. I think some tales about the old times may state your curiosity better than stalking her around, Peach said. I wasn't. I just got curious as to what she may be doing so late in an empty classroom, Deku said. Speaking of which, how did you find out about it? It's not exactly a private place, but her curfew is usually enough to scare students into staying away from the main building, Peach said. By complete chance, I swear, Deku said. Deku then explained how he found out. I see. Hey, sounds like something I'd do back when I was a student, Peach said. So that's why you're so familiar with Miss Goodwitch. It's not just that you're colleagues, Deku said. Oh, we go way further back than that. Same graduating class, same team, different specialization, Peach said. Specialization. I see, Deku said. After graduation, you have a chance for further training in specific fields, provided you show some kind of promise, Peach said. So what kind of specializations are there, Deku asked. Way too early for it to be a concern for you. And most hunters just decide to focus on fieldwork anyway, Peach said. Not you, though, Deku said. You'd be surprised. Glinda, instead, immediately took the offer and recommendation from her history teacher to specialize in teaching, Peach said. You mean Miss Goodwitch has never? She's never been a field hunter, Deku asked. Oh, don't get me wrong. She's been in her fair amount of scraps and battles, but 80% of them are from the time she was a student. A specialization as a teacher leaves you quite safe, we might say. Which is why it's usually taken by hunters who are getting old, or at least they've matured some years of experience on the field, when they are past their prime, Peach said. Miss Goodwitch instead decided to become a teacher immediately, Deku said. Yes. I won't say it's been her desire for as long as I've known her, but it definitely became her only goal during our final year, Peach said. Any special reason why, Deku asked. Yes. One in particular, Peach said, her tone clearly changing. Something happened on our last year at Beacon. And the fallout, coupled with the concerned attention of our history teacher, made Glinda decide to undergo a teacher specialization, Peach said. This history teacher. He's not just some random person, is he? Deku asked. Oh, indeed, Mr. Midoriya. He got a promotion or two over the years and now sits at the highest seat of the school, making him one of the most influential people in all of Remnant. You may have noticed that the headmaster does nothing that isn't in service of some grander scheme of his. A scheme that doesn't get shared with anyone fully, ever, Peach said. You mean? His recommendation for Miss Goodwitch also was some kind of chess move. But why? Deku asked. To get Glinda. You have to understand, Mr. Midoriya, that despite her lack of experience as a field hunter, I know at most 3 people who are stronger than Glinda Goodwitch in a fight, Peach said. Really? Deku asked. I've talked about a hunter's prime. Glinda has never been anything but in her prime. Her skill has never declined, her semblance is powerful and versatile, and her mind has only gotten sharper with age. It's not just her work as a teacher. She keeps herself in peak shape and only aims to better herself. To lead by example and have only more things to pass on to her students. She's always had that potential. Ozpin saw it and wanted it at his side to aid him in his goals, Peach said. Well, from the way you've just described her, who wouldn't want someone like Glinda at their side? Deku said. Oh, don't I know it. Remember that we were in a team together. When things went down, there was no one I'd rather have by my side than Glinda Goodwitch. But the methods, the way he distorts things and forces them through the lenses of his worldview for the sake of his goal. As noble as it may be, I will never approve of them. I will never forgive him, Peach said. The way he distorts things, Deku said. Did Glinda look comfortable trying to trick you in grounding yourself? Peach asked. Evelyn said she didn't want to do it, Deku said. And yet she was doing it because she trusted the headmaster would know better than her how to handle such a situation. I'm actually very thankful for your team, Mr. Midoriya. Glinda needed this collision course with the headmaster, Peach said. I see. I'm now starting to regret how I spoke to her, Deku said. Well, I believe your outburst is what really got her to question Ozpin. So at least some good came out of it, Peach said. Still, it doesn't explain what she does after lessons are over in an empty classroom every night, Deku said. I think it's an easy guess. I'll give you a hint and tell you that I always cut it in half by having a tea break with her, Peach said. Oh, Deku said. She's always liked trying new blends, Peach said. Friday. Day 89. Weiss was currently in the amphitheater, training with Pyrrha. Again, Weiss said. Weiss, Pyrrha said. Please, Weiss said. Weiss, I don't mind sparring, but you're clearly unfocused. Your form is all over the place and your strikes have nothing behind them but a desperate need to lash out. So, what exactly are we doing here? Because this looks more like you trying to distract yourself than real sparring, Pyrrha said. Alright, I admit it, yes. I'm trying to distract myself by getting my butt kicked, Weiss said. And why is that? Pyrrha asked. Because these stupid thoughts have spiraled out of a sequence of events that began with an ass kicking I got. So maybe they'll go away if I get my ass kicked hard enough again, Weiss said. Low-hanging fruit, Pyrrha. Be the better woman, Pyrrha thought. Weiss, I can assure you. Whatever these thoughts of yours are, ignoring them will just cause them to fester, Pyrrha said. They can get worse, Weiss asked. Yes. If you're not confronting them right now, the solution is not bashing your head against a wall. I'd suggest you relax, Pyrrha said. Relax. A relaxing activity, Weiss said. Yes. Is there something you find relaxing but haven't done in a while? Pyrrha asked. Actually, it's been a while since I've gone for a swim, Weiss said. Then I suggest you go for a swim, Pyrrha said. Thanks, Pyrrha, Weiss said. Think nothing of it. Although, I'm curious. What is this all about? Pyrrha asked. A disaster in the making. Stupid boy, Weiss said. Weiss then left the amphitheater. She can't mean Pyrrha thought. Why didn't I take the fruit? Why, Pyrrha cried out. Deku had gone to Team RWBY's room to confront Weiss. He felt like he had left it long enough for Weiss to process what happened, but she still wasn't answering her scroll. Deku knocked on the door and yet again it was Ruby who answered the door instead of Weiss. Hey, Izuku. Fancy meeting you here, Ruby said. So? We all good now? Deku asked. Yep. Had time to think about it and I decreed that this has been a learning experience for Weiss. After she talked with you she has been doing nothing but train. You better be prepared for payback, Team RWBY style, Ruby said. She has. Why? Deku asked. To not be shown up by your partner again, Ruby said. But that doesn't. Ruby, the conversation didn't end with her suddenly swearing revenge on Jack. We were talking about something and then she just ran off, Deku said. She ran from you. But why? Ruby said. I don't know. We were talking about how she doesn't want to show herself as immature, Deku said. More than usual? Ruby asked. More than usual. She seemed to realize something about the timing and then she ran, Deku said. Now that I think about it, that's true. Weiss has been trying to control her temper in public since. Hua. Grumble grumble grumble, Ruby said. Did you just say grumble 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 out loud? Deku asked. I'm trying to think of what Young would do. Hey, Weiss is currently out of the apartment. Why don't you step inside? I'll call her for you, Ruby said. Oh, you would? Thanks, Ruby, Deku said. My pleasure. Come on, step inside. Chop, Ruby said. Chop, Deku questioned. That too, Ruby said. Deku then entered their room to wait for Weiss. I'm coming out, Ruby. Be honest, Weiss said. Weiss then came out of the bathroom. It's too small, isn't it? Weiss asked. Weiss then noticed that Deku was in the room instead of Ruby. Hi, Weiss, Deku said. Weiss then screamed and ran back into the bathroom. Weiss, I'm sorry, Deku said. Izuku, why are you here? Weiss asked. I was worried and Deku said. Not that. Why are you inside? Where's Ruby? Weiss asked. She went to call you, Deku said. She what? Weiss asked. She told me you were out of the room and to wait here, Deku said. She. I'm going to kill her. I'm going to drown and saute her in milk and then roast her on a skewer, Weiss shouted. Do you want me to leave? Deku asked. No, I mean. It's not your fault. Just give me a few seconds. I bet. You were worried because of how I left, Weiss said. I figured I had said something to offend you, Deku said. Dolt. You didn't, Weiss said. I'm glad. Then why did you run? Deku asked. Oh, stupid white-haired. Just tell him. Or are you going to hide in the bathroom forever? Weiss thought. Do you remember what we were talking about? Weiss asked. About you not wanting to appear immature. More than usual, Deku said. That's Ruby talking, isn't it? Damn her. Point is, I realized that the timing coincided with. Well, it doesn't matter. Point is, the reason why I don't want to act like Ruby is that I don't want to look bad in front of someone, Weiss said. Oh. So that's what? Oh, wow. I mean. Lucky guy. Or girl, Deku said. Lucky. You know me. I'd call it a curse, Weiss said. Nonsense. You're smart, pretty and even rich, Deku said. And my personality is crap, Weiss said. It can be. But that's why you're trying to smooth out the rougher edges, no? To make this person more aware of everything else you have. And that's plenty, believe me, Deku said. That's a valid point, I guess, Weiss said. I know. So don't put yourself down too much. You're an amazing person, Weiss, but no one is perfect. So, do I know this person, Deku asked. Do you see that compact on my desk, Weiss asked. Yes, I see it, Deku said. Open it, Weiss said. Deku does as he was told. And? What now, Weiss, Deku asked. Weiss didn't say anything. Deku looked back at the compact and realized that there was a reflection of his face in the small mirror. Weiss then exited the bathroom. Is this swimsuit too small, Weiss asked. No, Deku said. Do you like to swim, Weiss said. Deku and Weiss then went to the school swimming pool. For some reason I half expected this to turn into a race, Deku said. Hey, knowing our track record. No, today I just want to relax. Even if the reason for my stress had already disappeared. So I guess this was just spending time with you, Weiss said. Hey. Fine by me, Deku said. The two sat in silence for a bit. What are you thinking about, Deku asked. Nothing much. You, Weiss asked. Nothing much. Well, maybe what comes next. Considering that, Deku said. Do you remember what I told you about how to deal with admitting the superiority of others, Weiss asked. A temporary situation, Deku said. A temporary situation, Weiss said. I see, Deku said. Deku then put his hand over Weiss's. Weiss looked at him in shock, but quickly smiled and began to rest her head on his shoulder. And they stayed like that until dark. Saturday. Day 90. Deku's scroll went off and he answered it. Ijuku speaking, Deku said. Well, I did call your scroll, Ruby said. Hey, Rubes. So, is it today, Deku asked. Ruby giggled. Huh. What's funny, Deku asked. You called me Rubes again, Ruby said. And I still don't know if you like it or not, Deku said. Jury is still out on that. Anyway, get David and meet me at the Bullhead Landing, Ruby said. Will do. See you there, Deku said. Don't forget your tickets, Ruby said. Ruby then hanged up. David, it's today, Deku said. All right, David said. Deku then opened his drawer and looked for the tickets. What is Ijuku looking for? David Penny asked. Hey, Penny. He's just looking for the tickets Ruby gave us, David said. There they are, Deku said. Oh, so Ruby called, Penny asked. Yeah, seems like the projection is today, Deku said. Oh, that's a first. And that's great. You're finally going out together, Penny said. Huh? What do you mean by first, Deku asked. And finally. We've both gone out with her before. Remember the cookies, David said. Well, yes, but you've both never gone out with Ruby. Together, have either of you? And this is the first time you two have shown interest in adding the same girl, Penny said. Oh. Penny, no, this is not a date, Deku said. Oh, it isn't, but you're going to watch a movie, Penny said. It is a pretty standard date setting, but just going to see a movie doesn't make this a date, David said. Yeah. She invited me out to see it as thanks for helping her, Deku said. That's true. Too bad, Penny said. Why too bad? You would have liked this to be a date, David asked. Of course. Having Ruby join us would be wonderful, Penny said. What, Deku and David said. She's my first friend, and Evelyn is my partner and you're my boyfriends. Wouldn't it be nice, Penny asked. We're going, Deku said. Have fun on your not date, Penny said. Deku and David then made their way to the Bullhead landing and waited for Ruby. Hi. Oh, wow. You two were faster than me, Ruby said. Hey, are you David said. David then saw Ruby's outfit. Hey, Ruby, Deku said. That's what I get for not thinking about handbags, Ruby said. Handbags, David asked. Yeah. My combat skirt has plenty of pockets and stuff, but these clothes have nothing. So I had to ask Weiss for a handbag last minute, like Ruby said. So why did you choose to wear that outfit again, Deku asked. Well, I don't plan to make a habit of it or anything, but every now and then, Ruby said. Well, good for you, Deku said. Right. Let's go then, Ruby said. Ruby then boarded the Bullhead. What's wrong, David? Rose pricked your tongue, Deku asked. I just never expected Ruby to wear something like that, David said. Yeah. It doesn't seem like something she would wear. But then again, look at the both of us, Deku said. True, David said. Deku and David then joined Ruby on the Bullhead to Vale. So, is the theater the same one where we got the tickets, Deku asked. Yup. Quite easy to find, so we just need to stay in the general area until it's time, Ruby said. Huh? Until it's time, David asked. For the projection, yes. I mean, it's not even midday yet. Bit early to have a movie theaters open, don't you think, Ruby said. That's true. Yeah, David said. Then why did we meet so early, Deku asked. I just wanted to spend more time together, you know. Hang out for a bit instead of going straight to the movie. So, what do you like to do in the meantime, Ruby asked. What about a walk around the market? I think there are some old bookstores and even some game stores, David said. Oh. I hope there's a shooting gallery, Ruby said. Turns out, there was a shooting gallery at the market. My word, miss. I've seen my share of Beacon students around here, but your shooting skills are something else, the stall owner said. Thanks. I'll have that scroll cover, please, Ruby said. Coming right up, the stall owner said. That was honestly incredible, Ruby, David said. Yeah. Your shots were impeccable, Ruby said. I was the best shot in my year back in Signal Academy. I guess I ranked pretty high in Beacon too, Ruby said. Oh, no doubt about that. So, a cover for your scroll. I like the rose design, David said. Glad you do, Ruby said. Ruby then gave it to David. Wait, you're giving it to me, David asked. Yup, Ruby said. But you won it earned, I mean, you could use it yourself, David said. Well, thing is, I already have one earned. Now we match, cool, no, Ruby said. Yeah. Cool, David said. Sorry that I didn't get anything for you, Ijuku, Ruby said. It's fine, you could only get one prize anyways. I'll just win my own, and then we can go get something to eat, Deku said. Oh yes. What about a parfait? Blake told me about this nice place with a great special, Ruby said. Deku then had a go at the shooting gallery. Though he was as good as Ruby, his training with his Air Force gauntlets had helped him win a prize. He chose a small green fluffy rabbit keychain. They then headed to a cafe to get parfaits. They had ordered a parfait for 3, but it didn't come as David and Deku expected. I guess I should have mentioned it's a single coup for 3 people to share. Sorry, Ruby said. It's alright, Deku said. Yeah. It's no big deal, David said. Deku and David then realized that this was indeed a date, but they thought about why they invited the other and who really was Ruby interested in. And they thought that they should confront her about this sooner rather than later. Anyway, the movie starts in half an hour. We should get in line, Ruby said. Absolutely. We don't want to miss it, do we? David said. The three then went to watch the movie. Thankfully Ruby couldn't keep her eyes off the screen for the entire movie, though she was sat between the both of them, giving them no indication of who Ruby was interested in. After the movie ended, they headed straight back to Beacon. And then, when they started shooting at bad guys while sliding down that waterfall. That scene in the book was epic, but seeing it live action was... Ah, that was so fun, Ruby said. I agree. Thanks for inviting us, Ruby, Deku said. What he said, David said. Thanks for the company. I had a great time with you too, Ruby said. Deku thought that this would be the best time to tell her the truth. Ruby, can we go sit in the gardens? There's something we'd like to talk to you about, Deku said. Sure. Lead the way, Ruby said. The three then enter the gardens and sit on a bench close to the fountain. Ruby sat in the middle, Deku on the right and David on the left. Ruby, did you have fun today? David asked. Yes. Lots and lots of fun, Ruby said. That's good, David said. Ruby, there's something you should know, Deku said. Actually, can I ask you two a question first? Ruby asked. Sure. What is it? Deku asked. How does it work with Penny and Evelyn? Like, do they take turns or split day? Or Ruby asked. You knew, David and Deku asked. Ah. I knew it. That's what was making you two all serious, Ruby said. How? I mean, I guess Evelyn can make it pretty obvious with the both of us, but David said. No, to my discredit I never noticed by myself. Penny told me, Ruby said. Penny told you? When? Deku asked. This morning, Ruby said. Well, the handbag wasn't the only reason I was late, Ruby said. Ruby started to recount what happened this morning. Sorry, I didn't mean to intrude and try and force dynamics that you didn't calculate or push for. So please do not feel like you have to treat your non-date as a date, Penny said, over a call. Ruby began to laugh. Penny, I can't even. Ruby laughed. I'm afraid I don't see the reason for your hilarity, Ruby, Penny said. I know. Still. Penny, I don't. I mean, I'm flattered but I never, Ruby said. I know, I didn't mean to make you three uncomfortable, by Penny said. Let me finish, please. I mean, this is a date, yes. I guess I should have made it a bit clearer, but it's my first date, though I only planned for a normal date. So this whole situation is... I mean, Ruby said. Oh. That's wonderful. And of course, I understand, Evelyn isn't really used to it yet either. Take your time, Penny said. You mean you don't mind if I go on a date with David and Ijuku even though I don't know if I want to be a part of this? Ruby asked. Of course not. Ruby, you're my friend. If it makes you happy and doesn't make anyone sad, there's no harm in it, is there? And you can't decide if you don't at least try, Penny said. I guess that's true. But wait. What about Evelyn? Ruby asked. Oh goodness, you're right. Just 1 second. Evelyn, Penny said. Home too early, Penny, Evelyn said sleepily. Sorry. Just a quick question. Would you mind if Ruby wanted to get together with us, so to speak? Penny asked. What? Ruby as in Miss Workaholic Weapon Crazy Ruby Rose? Evelyn asked sleepily. Yes, Penny said. I don't know her that well yet, but she's cute and nice and she's your friend. I guess I don't mind a trail run. Also, I'm Top Bunny, alright, Evelyn said sleepily. Yeah. Thanks, Evelyn, Penny said. Top Bunny needs more Zeds, Evelyn said sleepily. Evelyn then went back to sleep. Did you hear that? Ruby Penny asked. Yes, I did. Ah, this is so weird, I don't know what to think, Ruby said. I know, it's unconventional. Anyway, I'm okay with it, you and Evelyn want to give it a try. The only people left is Penny said. And there you have it, Ruby said. Oh god. This is. I mean, Ruby, Deku said. I don't think this is a good idea, David said. And why is that, Ruby asked. Because. If this is your first date, and we're your first. I mean, the first people you. I think it'd be better if you tried having a normal relationship with someone, David said. I would have to agree, Deku said. Would it be different if I were young, Ruby asked. What? Well, I guess so, David said. I knew it. Thing is, Young has never had a boyfriend or girlfriend either. And I'd bet Crescent Rose that Weiss hasn't either. David, Ijuku. I may act like one a lot, but I'm not a kid. My birthday is coming soon, too. I'm the leader of my team, a hunter in training. A pretty kick-ass one too, if I do say so myself. I think I'm qualified to decide what to do with my feelings. So unless you two don't like me, there's no reason why we can't at least try, right, Ruby said. We're sorry, Ruby. We didn't mean to treat you like a kid, Deku said. Not on purpose, Ruby said. It's just. Are you sure, David asked. Yup. Nothing stops me from taking it slow or backing out, right, Ruby said. Absolutely, Deku said. Then I guess you're my trail boyfriends. Young and Weiss will never live it down, Ruby said. Pfft, do they care about that kind of stuff that much, David asked. Oh, I will make them just so I can hold this one over their heads, Ruby said. Just don't do it too much, okay, Deku said. Although. Ruby said. Although, David questioned. Let's not take it too slow either, okay, Ruby said. Ruby then kissed David on the cheek. She then kissed Deku on the cheek. Before disappearing, leaving a train of rose petals behind. Deku and David looked at each other and smiled, before going back to the room. End of chapter 28.